Elizabeth poured herself a steaming cup of coffee, savoring the aroma as it filled her small kitchen. It was going to be one of those days, chaotic and unpredictable, just like her husband's work schedule. She took a sip, feeling the warmth spread through her veins, and checked her phone for what felt like the 100th time that morning. Another missed call from John, probably stuck in yet another meeting. As she gazed out the window, she noticed Olivia's house across the street. That woman was always making an entrance, flaunting her perfect hair and designer clothes as if to announce to the world, "I'm living my best life." Elizabeth couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy whenever she saw Olivia emerge from that charming bungalow. But John had reassured her countless times that his work relationship with Olivia was strictly professional. Elizabeth took another sip of coffee, trying to shake off the nagging feeling of doubt. She reminded herself of all the reasons why she and John were meant to be. Their laughter-filled dates, their spontaneous vacations, and the way he always made her feel like the only woman in the world. But as she glanced back at Olivia's house, a figure caught her eye. It was John strolling out of Olivia's front door with an air of nonchalance that seemed almost rehearsed. Her coffee cup trembled in her hand as Elizabeth felt the familiar knot of unease forming in her stomach. Was it possible that John wasn't being entirely truthful about his relationship with Olivia? The thought sent a shiver down her spine, and she pushed it aside, telling herself she was just being paranoid. But deep down, she knew this cup of coffee would not be as ordinary as it seemed. Elizabeth sipped her coffee, trying to shake off the lingering feeling of unease. She told herself it was just her imagination playing tricks on her, but her mind kept wandering back to Olivia's house and the strange men who seemed to be frequent visitors. She thought about John, her loving husband, and how he always came home to her every night. But as she gazed out the window, her eyes landed on a familiar figure standing at Olivia's window. Her heart skipped a beat as she felt a surge of jealousy course through her veins. Who was this woman, and why did she have such a hold on John? Elizabeth tried to rationalize it. Maybe he was just being friendly, or maybe Olivia was some sort of confidant. But deep down, she knew that wasn't the case. As the day wore on, Elizabeth found herself going through the motions, but her mind kept drifting back to the image of John at Olivia's window. She tried to distract herself with work and errands, but even the mundane tasks seemed tainted by the uncertainty swirling in her head. By the time she got home, Elizabeth felt like she was drowning in a sea of doubt. She poured herself another cup of coffee, this one filled with more than just caffeine. It was filled with questions. Who was John, really? And what was going on behind closed doors? Elizabeth took a sip, her eyes fixed on the liquid, wondering if she would ever find the answers she sought. As Elizabeth stood in the empty doorway of their home, she felt like she was suffocating under the weight of her own doubts. She had tried to convince herself that John's late nights were just a result of work stress, but the truth was staring her right in the face. Olivia's house was a constant reminder that he was leading a double life. With tears streaming down her face, Elizabeth packed a small suitcase and grabbed her passport. She couldn't stay here anymore, not when her trust had been shattered into a million pieces. Spain, with its warm sun and vibrant culture, seemed like the perfect escape from the chaos of her marriage. As she boarded the plane, Elizabeth felt a mix of emotions: sadness, anger, and a hint of excitement. This trip was about more than just running away. It was about finding herself again. She had always been John's wife, but now was the chance to discover what made her tick, what made her happy. Little did she know that this trip would be filled with unexpected surprises, including a handsome stranger who would challenge everything she thought she knew about love and relationships. But for now, Elizabeth was content to leave it all behind and start anew in the sun-kissed city of Barcelona. The last straw had been pulled out from under her, but as she gazed out at the clouds, she felt a glimmer of hope that this new chapter would be filled with more than just sunshine. It would be filled with life. I had never felt so alive. Every new experience, every stranger's smile, every whispered secret in the night seemed to peel away another layer of the facade I had built around myself. The more I explored this foreign land, the more I realized how little I truly knew about myself. Olivia, my former best friend, had once told me that people are like coffee, complex, layered, and full of surprises. But it was only now, as I stood on the edge of a cliff overlooking the Mediterranean, that I began to understand what she meant. The cup of deception that had once fueled my insecurities now seemed like a distant memory. The glass half full of promises had shattered long ago, revealing a life unraveled and full of mystery. And yet, with each passing day, I felt myself unraveling too. Thread by thread, moment by moment, freeing myself from the constraints of my own making. As I gazed out at the endless blue horizon, I knew that I was on the cusp of something new, something that would change me forever. But I also knew that sometimes the truth is harder to swallow than coffee, and that the secrets we keep are the ones that ultimately set us free.